All right, let's get into a story that's part history, part ghost story, and honestly, a massive unsolved mystery. We're talking about a legendary lost ship, but this isn't your typical shipwreck tale. This is a story with two totally different sides. One is about mutiny and a lost fortune. The other, it's about a powerful curse and an act of resistance. So let's dive in. For over 340 years, this is the one question that has just stumped everyone, from historians to modern-day shipwreck hunters. What really happened to Le Griffon? I mean, we're talking about the very first ghost ship of the Great Lakes. Did it just vanish into a storm, or was it pulled under by something, well, something far more deliberate? Okay, so picture this. The year is 1679. You've got this incredibly ambitious French explorer, René Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la Salle. And this guy has a huge vision. He wants to build a ship that can tame the wild, uncharted waters of the Great Lakes and basically claim the whole heart of the continent for France. And this was his key to doing it all. Le Griffon. But listen, this was not just some boat. This thing was a statement. A 45-ton ship, armed with 7 cannons. It was basically a floating fortress designed to project power. For La Salle, it was the engine of his imperial dream. But for the people who already called that land home, it was something else entirely. You see, the local Seneca nation watched this thing being built with more and more alarm. To them, this great canoe, as they called it, a ship that moved without any paddles, it was an abomination. It was a deep insult to the spirits of the lakes. They saw it as a massive violation of their entire world, and they actually begged La Salle to stop building it. And this, right here, is where the story completely splits in two. On one side, you've got the European account, La Salle's official story of a bad storm or a crew that betrayed him. And on the other side, you have the indigenous oral tradition, a story of a planned act of resistance against what they saw as a cursed invading threat. So let's start with La Salle's version of events. From his point of view, the disappearance of his pride and joy wasn't just a tragedy. It was a betrayal, and it was all tied to a massive, massive fortune. Le Griffon was absolutely loaded with a fortune in furs. We're talking about something worth well over $600,000 in today's money. To La Salle, the motive was crystal clear. Of course his crew would steal that kind of valuable cargo and just disappear. Why wouldn't they? And so this is what went down in the official record. On September 18th, 1679, the ship, its tiny 6-man crew, and all those furs sailed off into Lake Michigan. It fired a single cannon shot, and then poof, it was never seen again by European eyes. La Salle waited for months, but when the ship never showed, he became totally convinced his own men had stolen everything and sunk his vessel on purpose. But hold on, because that is only half the story. Now we turn to the indigenous account, which doesn't start with greed, but with a chilling prophecy. This is a story of spiritual defiance that's been passed down for generations. According to oral tradition, an Iroquois prophet named Metiomek went right up to La Salle and confronted him. He didn't just warn him, he laid down a curse. He said, "Beware, your blood shall stain the hands of those in whom you trusted." And La Salle, this man of science and ambition, he just laughed it off. But his dismissiveness, and then having a priest come and bless the ship, only made things worse. For the Seneca, this second act of a foreign ritual, well, that was the last straw. Le Griffon wasn't just an intrusion anymore. It was officially, unequivocally cursed. So this curse sets the stage for what comes next, because the Algonquin oral tradition tells this not as some spooky legend, but as a calculated military operation, a preemptive strike to stop an invasion before it could even begin. Here's how it supposedly went down. Warriors quietly followed the ship in canoes. After it anchored for the night, they swam out, snuck on board, and just systematically disabled it. They cut the rigging, they busted the rudder, and this is the crucial part. They opened the seacocks, the valves below the waterline, to flood the whole thing. The crew was taken care of, and then the ship was set on fire to destroy all the evidence. This wasn't random, it was strategic. For centuries, these two totally different stories just existed side by side. But the tale doesn't stop there. Oh no, we've got the eerie fulfillment of that curse and a modern-day discovery that kind of complicates everything. Check out this timeline. It's kind of spooky. 8 years after his ship disappears, LaSalle is down in Texas, and his own desperate men turn on him. He's shot and killed, his blood staining the hands of those he trusted, exactly as Metiomek had predicted. And then, boom, fast forward all the way to 2018, when a pair of shipwreck hunters believe they finally found the wreck. But here's the twist. The wood from that 2018 wreck, while it's dated to the right time period, shows zero signs of fire damage. Now, if this really is Lee Griffon, that's a huge problem for the oral tradition because it directly contradicts the part of the story that says the warriors burned the ship. So we're left with this puzzle. LaSalle's mutiny theory makes sense because of the valuable cargo, but there was never any proof. The indigenous sabotage account whose version actually